Both the farming and oil industry mean so much to North Dakota.
A farmer in northern North Dakota near the Canadian border is worried that they can't work together. KVRR Shiina LoSciuto and photographer John Hanson traveled to Mohall to bring us this story. Shiina?
There are many areas of land that face saltwater damage in North Dakota. Imagine this. You own a hotel and someone comes in and tears down the walls, then leaves without fixing them. That's how one landowner tells us he's been feeling for nearly 20 years. 7.3, 12.46. The measuring tool stops at 20, but that doesn't mean the amount does.
This land has been in our family for over 60 years. We'll walk along here and maybe do a little testing to see. Now this will vary, but it's at 12.46.
Daryl Peterson measures salinity in the soil of his property in Bottineau County.
It's no wonder nothing grows.
A problem when you make a living farming.
Acceptable levels in the surface are 2. So this is at least 3.5 times what's acceptable.
We don't have plants in North Dakota that can tolerate that level of salinity.
The soil believed to be damaged from saltwater spills by the oil production companies on his property. Spills can happen by transporting equipment or by damaged pipes.
In my part of the country here, where the wells are marginal, the equipment is old, a lot of spills are happening, no maintenance seems to be done, and it's devastating to the land. Behind me is an oil site that is on my property. There has been at least 10 spills in the past 5 years in this area on my property.
The Department of Mineral Resources say they conduct monthly inspections at well sites. If something is out of regulation, oil companies receive a verbal warning. They have 30 days to fix it. The agency says nearly 60% of the issues get resolved in that time. If the oil companies still have not resolved the issue, they receive a written complaint and then they have 180 days to resolve it. The remaining 40% of violations takes longer than 180 days, but the state says they do get resolved.
Where you see the kochia weeds right there is where the soil was replaced in 2012. And all this was replaced to 3 feet deep. And the salt came back up, and as you can see right here, nothing grows. But where it's not quite as contaminated and the salt hasn't all come back up yet, it'll grow kochia weed, which is no good to anybody. My wife and I wrote a letter to the North Dakota Industrial Commission in 1997 asking them to please help us. There's spills on our property, hold the company accountable, and get our land cleaned up. They filed the letter, so it's on file, but they did never respond to us and did nothing else. Finally, in 2010, they did a minimum amount of soil testing and recognized there was some damage here. They did not realize the extent of it.
The North Dakota Department of Health requires the oil companies and reclamation firms to notify the landowners when they're testing on their property. The Petersons say that no longer happens.
Who's out here to help me? They're supposed to notify me when they're out here. They're supposed to get me the test results. When they drill wells or whatever, they're supposed to notify us. They have not done any of the above.
In 2011, Daryl and members of his family were brought in front of a judge by the oil company for trespassing.
Who's protecting my property rights? Can I go to the sheriff and say, whoops, somebody has trespassed on my property, and have them pay attention? But if an oil company, somebody goes on their property, right away we're having citations issued.
Daryl says he and his family had witnessed spills at the well site on their land and were reporting violations.
The judge, in his ruling, in a summary judgment, said that, in fact, that it was our moral obligation to report these spills, and completely ruled on our behalf. It's a kind of a David and Goliath effort here in North Dakota.
When I talked to the State Department of Mineral Resources, they said they are well aware of the Peterson situation, and they're doing their best. It just takes time.
I am not a tree hugger. I have demonstrated that I am for responsible oil development, but we need to do a way better job.
The state agrees there are lingering discrepancies on the Petersons' land. The North Dakota Department of Health says they are actively working with the parties to find a solution. Some soils are just more damaged than others. They say they wish they could fix it as fast as the Petersons want.
I'm going to keep on as long as I can. I think I have the moral high ground, and I have a good cause.
Daryl says he's looking for only one outcome: for the oil company to take responsibility for their actions.
Well, to satisfy me, I feel the land they contaminated should be cleaned up. Clean up your mess.
And that he is only looking out for his land and the best interests of the state's economy.
We should not have to sacrifice our ag industry, our agriculture economy, for a one-time harvest of oil.
Well, the North Dakota Department of Health says the Petersons are currently not letting them on their land. Peterson disputes that.
So what happens next, Shiina?
Well, the parties are all in contact and they hope to find a solution. It's just not happening at the speed that they all hoped.
Very good story. Thanks, Shiina.
Thanks, Shiina.